Hey, what's up, guys? It's your vocal coach, Matt Ramsey. And I thought to myself, you know what we never do anymore? We never dress up anymore. Well, that's actually because I'm going to a wedding later today, and I thought, why only wear it for a couple hours when I could wear it for this beautiful video and share it with you? It's getting towards the end of the year, and as happens, I'm starting to get a little bit reflective on what's working in my studio, what's working in my own personal life, what's working with my brand, what's working with this channel. And honestly, I've actually been kind of afraid to make this video because there have been some big things that have changed over this last year, and especially in the last couple of months that I wanted to share with you. So I thought I would share some of the things that I kind of regret over the course of my career, and I feel pretty grateful that there's just been a couple of really big ones, and I'm hopeful that by watching this video, you're able to take some lessons away from it that you can put to use in your own singing life and your just life in general. Now, first, I thought I would get started by saying some of the things that I definitely do not regret. I definitely do not regret posting 4 or 5 years ago this long video about why Ken Tamplin was wrong about his opinions on speech level singing. The video that I published 4 or 5 years ago about what he was saying about speech level singing, why it doesn't work, were just factually incorrect. None of it was based in my opinion. It was all based on the things that he'd said about SLS that were factually incorrect and absolutely provably incorrect. The main point that I was making in that video is that the things about his technique that are working are largely borrowed from SLS. The thing is that a lot of his tactics and a lot of his marketing is really just about poo-pooing everybody else and instead inserting himself as the only solution to singing. And honestly, that just kind of rubs me the wrong way. I do think it's funny because there are a lot of people that do a search of my name to see whether I'm a reputable vocal coach or not, and they actually find a blog that Ken wrote on his own singing blog that's kind of like, talking about me as a vocal coach and my own technique and stuff like that, and how great it is. And it's overwhelmingly positive. But that's not actually because Ken thinks that I'm a good teacher. It's because Ken knows about SEO. SEO stands for search engine optimization. And basically he knew that if he wrote a really long blog post about me and about my certification and about the technique that I teach and stuff like that, that eventually that would rank when some people search for my name. And that just shows you how savvy this guy is at marketing. Another big thing that I do not regret is quitting IVA, or the Institute for Vocal Advancement. And I just happened to kind of come onto the vocal coaching scene when that was launching, and my own teachers recommended that I join that organization, and so I did. And I learned so much in IVA, it was absolutely ridiculous. But after 7 years in the organization, I got a little bit frustrated at how information was being gate-kept away from me. It was right before COVID, and I decided that I kind of had enough of it, and I'd started to reach kind of a level in my own personal brand building and with the success of this YouTube channel that I decided that I didn't really need IVA anymore. If your teachers are good enough, they're gonna teach you to become so good that eventually you overshadow and kind of overcome them. Now, I'm not trying to say that I'm a better teacher than some of the master teachers in IVA. It's more about you'll just outgrow them. At a certain point, you'll no longer need them. And I felt very distinctly in 2019 when I left that it was that time. But I miss that community like crazy. I miss those teachers. And unfortunately, once you're kind of out, it is a little bit more challenging to kind of get back in and to attend those conferences and to see those people in that same way again. And one of the biggest things that I don't regret was using Dave Stroud's name in the Facebook advertising for my course, Expand Your Range Fast. Dave Stroud was one of the master teachers, and I believe the CEO for a time, of speech level singing, of SLS. And one year he came to Austin and was teaching here. He was teaching a public workshop. And as happens when these teachers, they teach a public workshop, a big part of their paycheck is not just teaching the workshop, but it's teaching a bunch of the private lessons that come from the students who attend that workshop. The original teacher that was hosting Dave Stroud, they had some sort of problem with their house or with their studio, or it wasn't set up just yet. I offered for them to use my house instead. And so my exposure to Dave at this point was I'd seen him teach a workshop, and then I had him teach at my house, and I observed him teach for 4 hours before he left for his flight. Now, in the advertising for the course that I was promoting, I mentioned that I had received mentorship from Dave Stroud. Certainly the word mentorship is maybe a little bit of kind of overkill for what it was, but none of that prepared me for the backlash that I was going to get from Dave Stroud himself. And he sent me this like really threatening series of texts that I never responded to. And I thought that they were really pretty funny. Because the truth of the matter was, Dave had taught the workshop and he was teaching out of my house and I had received some mentorship. And I personally believe that if you're not willing to have people use your name, then don't teach people. For better or worse, as vocal coaches, we all sign up to have our names thrown around by the people that we teach. Some of the people that aren't so great, you're kind of like, oh gosh, I wish they wouldn't drop my name. And some of the people that are great, you're like, yeah, of course I teach them. It's just the nature of the business. But all of this brings me to the thing that I regret the most in my singing career. And that is not owning my name and the name of my studio earlier. So when I first started out teaching, I was still taking weekly lessons with my mentor, who I'll call Greg. He's one of the most renowned, one of the best teachers in the Austin area. Everyone knows about Greg. And Greg was teaching at what I'll call the Sing Higher vocal studio. Now, Greg actually really encouraged me to start teaching myself. And he was like, well, you know, you're just getting started off. Why don't you can use the name of my studio? Because at the very beginning, there were even, in my opinion, some discussions about kind of partnering and kind of going together and me maybe becoming a teacher in his studio. And I was like, well, I'm not gonna take your name. You can be Sing Higher and I'll be Sing Higher East. And if I could have only known the headaches that this would cause down the line. But knowing me, I should have already foreseen that I knew I was gonna promote that business like crazy. And what eventually happened, obviously, is at a certain point, I started to kind of compete with my teacher in rankings, even though we were different businesses. And so what started out as just a kind of couple confused students who were maybe looking for him and found me, or maybe were looking for me but found him, all of a sudden escalated to some very unkind telephone calls going both ways. And what made it absolutely worse was I'd already dug in so much. I'd started this website, I'd started the YouTube channel under those names that it was gonna be like, pulling teeth to change everything now. And so eventually I bit the bullet and rebranded everything Ramsey Voice Studio and finally owned my name. And once I did that, man, everything just opened up for me. Everything became so much easier. I started to rank better in the search results. Nobody was ever confused again about who I was versus who Greg was. But the damage had already been done. And unfortunately, I would never regain the trust of the person who mentored me so much and who I frankly loved and was very, very loyal to. My recommendation to you would be to own everything that you do as much as you can. And when I say own, I don't necessarily mean to have possession of. I'm talking mostly about, if you're gonna put something out there, make sure that it's yours. Make sure that you own it completely and that you take responsibility for it. It's worth it in the long run. One last thing that I will never regret is creating the Master Your Voice singing course, which is the only singing course to offer personalized feedback from me, along with a proven system of exercises. When I first created the Master Your Voice singing course, it was just designed to be a better pre-recorded video course than anyone else's. It was designed to be better than Brett Manning's Singing Success or Aaron Anastasi's Superior Singing Method. But as time went on, I really thought about how can I actually make this the best possible singing course out there. What I realized that no one was doing was no one was actually listening to their singers sing and responding with personalized feedback to fit their voice. And that's exactly why as soon as you enroll in Master Your Voice, I ask you to send in a recording of yourself singing and I respond with a 7 to 12 minute personalized video vocal assessment. Thanks so much for watching, guys. If you want to check out Master Your Voice, you can just click the link in the description. It's been a heck of a journey. It's been a beautiful year, and I'm grateful for all of you who watch.